Well, howdy, Internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, we're going to build a Hackintosh. I don't know why, but we're gonna. So, let's get it started right now. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, why do you need to build a Hackintosh? You've got a perfectly good Mac Mini, although it's mid-2011 Mac Mini. You got one sitting behind you there, right there on the desk. Well, the reason is that mid-2011 Mac Mini will only run High Sierra. It won't go past there, so I can't really run Catalina on there. Now, the other reason is I've always used Tony Mac to build my Hackintosh units, and I wanted to get my feet wet using OpenCore, so that's what I decided to do. Now, my Mac Mini's not going anywhere. I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to need to buy a new Mac Mini with the new generation chip in there in order to keep pace with OS X. I don't have a lot of clients using Apple products anymore. They're all using the phones, and some are using MacBooks, but we'll have to wait and see how popular this new this new processor is going to be on the Mini. From what I've seen, the reviews are pretty good, but today what we're going to focus on is building a Hackintosh. So the motherboard is a Gigabyte GAZ77DS3H. I had laying around. I've used that for my Unraid build and a couple other things. I love that board. I just can't get rid of it. I've got 24 gig of RAM on there. It's got a Samsung, I'm reading it over here on the other screen, a Samsung 850 EVO SSD. It's an i7 3770, so it'll actually run Big Sur. And then the kicker is that the GPU is an AMD RX 560. Now, this i7 3770 also has a built-in, I think it's a HD 400 video on that i7 processor. Let me look that up. I don't want to speak out of turn. Let's see here. I'm sorry, it's an Intel HD Graphics 4000. So anything past about High Sierra, you want to make sure if you're going to build a Hackintosh that you either go with the Intel graphics built onto that chip or that you have a good AMD card. NVIDIA, don't waste your time. You're not going to be happy with the results. Now, I've tried to keep this video to the point where you can follow along, but I'm following somebody else's video while I'm telling you how to do it. So I think you're better served if I put a link down to the person's video who I follow. Now, the one he does is he does Big Sur using the procedure I'm using, but you can use it for Catalina or whatever. Now, this is also not, you're going to need a Mac to do this. So if you don't have a Mac, you're going to need to borrow a laptop or whatever in order to get through this. There is a way to do this through Windows, but I prefer to use a Mac. I've got one laying around, so that's the way I'm going to do it. So this is not a soup to nuts tutorial, and I may or may not be able to post all of this on YouTube. So if you think parts are missing, I'll let you know down below and point you to the link of the video over on Odyssey or on BitChute if YouTube, for whatever reason, decides this doesn't meet their community guidelines. Alright, so it's going to be extremely helpful if you have a Mac, either a friend's or you have an older Mac Mini. This will work on. I've got a USB key in here, so if we go over to right click on it and get info, you'll see it's just a 16 gig USB drive, and it's called No Name. What they tell you to do is go into your utilities folder and bring up disk utility. Make sure you've got the view set on show all devices. And then here's my SanDisk Cruiser. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And I'm going to use Mac OS X extended. I'm going to call it USB. Now, it's real important you format it with the GUID partition map. So do that. Go ahead and click on erase. And that'll create a new clean USB key to install on. Now the other thing you're going to need to do is go out and download whatever version of OS 10 you're going to use, whether it be Catalina or Big Sur. And I'll cover out how to download that in another video, but suffice it to say, if I go here to applications, I have the install macOS Catalina in my applications folder, and once you download it from Apple, that's where it'll stick it. Now if you want to download Big Sur, you have to keep in mind you have to be on a supported Mac, a Mac that's supported under Big Sur in order to download it. Same way with Catalina. But what I want to focus on now is how to create the USB key to install Catalina. So it's helpful if you go out to the Google, to the internets, and type in create Catalina USB installer. I've got it right there. And actually, if you go to Apple's website, which is the first one, it gives you the instructions right here on how to use the create install media command in terminal. So it's very important you know what you've labeled your USB drive, and I've labeled mine USB. Now let me scroll down here. I want to look at something else here and see if they have. No, they don't. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the Catalina, which is this one. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole thing up to the point where it says volumes, my volume. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And then I'm going to go up to the terminal. So I'll go to go to utilities, and I want to bring up the terminal program. And then I'm going to paste that command right there. And I only post it up to volumes. Now we need to know the name of the volume. So the volume is USB. So your command should look something similar to that. Go ahead and hit the enter key. Enter your Mac password. And it's telling you, okay, to continue we need to erase the volume at volumes USB. If you wish to continue, type yes, then press enter. So I'm going to do Y for yes, hit enter, and you'll see the drive disappears, and now it's going to go ahead and format it with install macOS Catalina. Now this can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. Go ahead and let it run. Don't don't eject the disk or whatever while you're formatting it, and just let it finish. I'm going to bring up activity monitor here. And you can see, yeah, cool. Very similar. Okay, we'll let that run. All right, so now that I've created my USB drive, the next thing I need to do is generate a file, or my EFI folder. I'm going to rename this one. I've got an old one here. And we'll just call it old-EFI. So I don't want it to be confused. They made it really simple. There used to be quite complicated. It's still fairly complicated to do a Hackintosh, but now we have this program called OCGenX. So I'm just going to double click on that. Now, OCGenX is going to generate your config.plist file. It's going to do everything you need, load all the drivers, the kex files, etc. Everything you need except for two things, and that is copying your SSDT files into it and setting up your serial number, which we'll do later. So basically it's as simple as choosing the processor you have. Now I'm going to be using that i7-3770, which is an Ivy bridge, and I'm not going to worry about any of these others. I don't have any of these Intel HEDT chips or the AMDs. So the next thing I'm going to do is come over here to kex files. I'm going to make sure you check Lilu and Virtual SMC. You're going to need both of those. These Virtual SMC plugins are not needed as a general rule. For graphics, you're going to need Whatever Green. For audio, you're going to want Apple ALC. At least I do for the motherboard I'm using. For the Ethernet, I want the Atheros Ethernet drivers because that's what I have on there. Now, as far as USB goes, and as far as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and extras, I don't need any of these because I'm not using Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. The USB should work natively. So now the next thing we want to do is come here to firmware drivers. Make sure you've selected both Open Runtime and HFS Plus under the UEFI. Under the SMBIOS, you're going to need to know what generation your Mac should be, what your system model should be. So you want to come down here to the OpenCore website, and on the left-hand side here, you'll have some information under configs for Ivy Bridge. So you can click on there to Ivy Bridge, and then you can come down here to Platform Info. And the Platform Info here will tell you what code to use. So I'm going to use iMac 13,1 because that's used for computers with the Ivy Bridge and internal GPU. Now, I also have an AMD GPU on here. So you would think, oh, well, put in 13,2. No, actually, you do that if you want to use your display GPU for displaying and an internal GPU for computing tasks only. I want to use iMac 13,1 because that's used for computers utilizing the internal GPU for displaying. And you'll see what I mean as we move along. So I need to put in iMac 13,1 into that field. So we'll do iMac 13,1. Make sure you do that properly. Now, under additional boot arguments, I don't need any right now. So I've got everything set the way I want it with the KEX files and the firmware drivers and the SMBIOS and all the essential stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Generate EFI. And so what it's done now is it's created an EFI folder. I can go ahead and get out of the OC Gen X. It's created an EFI folder. And under the OC folder, you'll see there's our bootstrap, there's our config.plist. Here's our drivers, the HFS Plus and Open Runtime. Here's our KEX files that we're going to need. Our OpenCore EFI, resources, nothing there. Tools, nothing there. Now, what you want to do is come here to your Ivy Bridge back here, starting point. And you're going to need to make sure that you have your SSDTs. So you can ignore the SSDT PM, or at least I can, with the version of the motherboard I have. So the two SSDTs I need are the EC and the SSDT IMEI. So I've already downloaded those. They're under here, under this folder. But mine is called SSDT-EC-desktop and SSDT_IMEI, or IMEI. So I'm going to highlight both of those. I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy those two items. And then I'm going to open my EFI folder, OC, ACPI, and I'm going to paste those two items in there. Right, now I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now I need to make some changes to the files, well, specifically to one file in the EFI folder. Now, a lot of guides show you mounting the EFI folder on the USB drive, copying this folder then to that hidden EFI partition, and then editing it on there. I prefer to edit it here. That way the changes, once I'm all done editing, I can just copy that entire directory over there. So this is the file we're going to edit. So in order to make that happen, we need to have a program called Property Master. And so once you've downloaded that, just right click on the command file here, Property Command, and choose Open. And then you'll see it comes up to a blank untitled plist file. Now what I need to do is I need to open my config.plist file that is on my EFI folder on my desktop. So I'm going to do File, Open. I'm going to go to my EFI folder on my desktop, which is right here. Go to OC and come to config.plist and open. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to inject all the KEX files that are in that EFI and merge them with this config.plist file. So in order to do that, I come to File and do OC Snapshot. And then I need to come to this, come back to my desktop, go back to EFI. Oops, sorry. Come back to EFI and choose the OC folder. Click on Choose. And you'll see now that it's injected my SSDT files in there. If we come down here, you'll see it's injected my whatever green, my virtual SMC, etc. So it's very important you do that step. So the last thing you want to do, well, not the last thing, but the next thing you want to do is come back to File and go OC Clean Snapshot. And this time, choose that OC folder again. You see it's already selected. Click on Choose, and it'll create the new snapshot of that folder. Let's come back to our config, and let's go up to our ACPI, and let's scroll down, and what we need to do is start comparing these settings to what we have over here. So Quirks we don't need to worry about. Booter we don't need to worry about. Let's see, more in-depth. Let's go look at Quirks, and let's go look at more in-depth info. So what we're looking for on Quirks is avoid runtime defrag, yes. Enable write unprotector, yes. And set up virtual map to yes. So if we come over here and go to Quirks, let's see. That's Quirks under Booter. So avoid runtime, let's see, defrag is set to true, so that's good. Enable write unprotector, I think that was. Let's see. Yeah, enable write unprotector should be set to yes, and it is, or it's set to true. And then set up virtual map is set to yes. So let's see, set up virtual map set to true. So we're good on there. So the next thing we need to do is come down to device properties, and we're going to need to add a couple of items to support our internal graphics. So let's see here. It looks like we're going to be using only one of these. We're going to do one for graphics. We're going to do one for audio. It's what it looks like. So we need to go under devices. Let's see if they give us a screenshot of what it looks like. No, they don't. Maybe they have a... Let me just... Oh, yeah, they do have it here. So as you can see, it shows the add root PCI device, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here to... Where are we going to go? Under root, under device properties. So let's look for root. There's device properties right there. So it looks like we need to right click and we need to add a new child under device properties. So I'm going to do that. And there's the new string. And what we need to do is copy and paste this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and we will paste it here. Oh boy, I don't know the delete. What is the paste command for OS 10? Let's see, OS X paste command. Let's see. Paste is Command V. So, see, what would that be? Control V? No. Windows V? Yes. Windows V is the OS 10 equivalent, or is the Windows keyboard equivalent of that paste command. So now I'll come here to string, and I believe we're going to change that to, is it array? Now let me look. The string, we're going to change that to, let's see. See if I can figure this out. Is a key. Okay. So we want to change that to key. So let's come back over here. We're going to change that back to I guess a string, huh? Okay. No, actually we need to change that to dictionary. So there we go. There's our PCI root X or 0x0 yada yada yada. I just copied it from the screen behind me. All right, so now we need to add another child under the PCI root. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy this text right here. So we'll copy that. Come back over here. And we'll do Windows V to paste that. Hit enter. And that is going to be actually a data. And the data is going to be this key right here. So when the internal graphics GPU is used to drive a display. Yeah, I know we're going to be using an external video or another video card, but we're going to put that in there anyway. So that'll be our data in here. So Windows V to click that or to put that in there. So that's what it should look like. So the next thing we're going to come down to is quirks. We're skipping over all of this. It doesn't really apply in our case, but we want to come down to quirks. So in our plist editor, let's come down here till we see quirks right here. Okay, so now we're going to start comparing these. So the Apple CPU's PM config lock should be set to yes, and it is. The disable IO mapper should be set to yes. However, it's not needed if VTD is disabled in the BIOS. And so let's go look, see what it's set to. Disable IO mapper. Yeah, it's set to true. Lapic kernel panic is set to no. Lapic kernel panic is set to false, so that's correct. Panic no kex dump is set to yes. That's correct. Power timeout kernel panic is set to true. That's correct. And XHCI port limit should be set to yes, and it is. So all of this from quirks on, from scheme all the way down to NVRAM, is taken care of us automatically by the little generator program that we ran earlier. So what we're going to focus on now is NVRAM, the settings here. And we're going to make some changes here. So let's get to those right now. So now we're going to come all the way down here to our boot arguments and put those in. And as you will see, we come down here under NVRAM. You'll see there's the key right there that matches that one. And we want to make sure these are correct. So under boot arguments, we need to put these in. So let's double click on our boot arguments and choose data and double click on it again, and we're going to start emulating these boot arguments. So you can copy and paste these, but I'm just going to type them in. So we need -v for verbose. We need a space. We need debug equals 0x100 space keep syms equal 1 space alcid equal 1. So now that we have those in there, let's hit the enter key. Let's see, it says -vd. It says there's invalid. It says there's invalid in there. Huh. Yes, please. It says there's an invalid thing in here. Let's see, -v. Debug equals. Okay, so let me delete that. So it's -v space debug equal 0x100 space keep SYMS equal 1 space ALCID equal 1, enter. Interesting. Now don't make a boo-boo like I just did, as you saw. We need to change this to string. Then we can come over here and type these. The -v, then the debug equals 0x100 space keep SYMS equal 1 space ALCID equal 1, then enter, and it should accept that. So make sure you set that to string before you put that command in there. Now the next thing we need to do is set our language. So we'll see that down here under our language. So this is the key we need to edit the previous language, KBD. The string needs to be EN/US:0. So we need to change this to a string. And then in here, we can copy this. So we'll do a copy, and then a Windows V, and then enter, and that should save it to the English language. So the next one is write flash. Yeah, we've already got our SMBIOS in there. So we need to make sure. Do we have write flash? Let's see. Cleaning up? No, I don't think so. It looks like, there it is, write flash. So under the delete, let's come here under delete, and we should see, let's see, under delete, write flash should be set to yes, and it is. I know it can get a little confusing. This is quite a big, this is like the Windows registry version for OS X, so it can get a little confusing. Now, we've also already done our platform info. Let's see, platform info. Yeah. We've already done that with, it should be in there already. Let's look. Processor type, yeah, iMac 13,1. So it already, the OS X program already generated that info for us. So from this point, we should be good, I believe. So yeah, it appears we're done. So now we can come back to our plist and go up to File and Save, and then exit out of Property and minimize our Google Chrome. And let's close. Quit the terminal. And now if we go back to our EFI folder and our OC, we should see our plist file was edited. Let's see, let's open it, see if we can actually view it, and we should see those changes we made in here. I'm just going to kind of gloss through it and make sure it kept those changes. Let's do this. We'll open it with the property command again. Alright, and we'll go to File, Open, and Config plist and Open, and then we'll just verify. We'll go down and look. Yeah, there's our SSDT files. Here's the quirk changes. Here's the key where we set the debug, keep sims, ALCID1. We've told it what video card we're going to be using, the internal. Got platform info. We should see our iMac 13,1. Yeah, it all looks good. So we can close Property now. So we're done editing the config.plist. That's a major step. So kudos to you. So that's good. So now what we need to do is we need to actually copy this EFI folder to our install USB. So we need to come to mount EFI command and open that. And then we need to tell it to mount the install macOS Catalina, which is number 1. we're going to need to enter our OS X password or OS X password, and then it'll mount it. So now what you're going to do is open this folder, and if there was anything in here, you would delete it. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to copy EFI, and we're going to paste it here. There we go. So that should have everything in there. All of our kex files, our config.plist, there's our kex files, there's our drivers, etc. So now what we're ready to do is we are ready to actually eject this. Let me close the mount EFI, and then let me eject this USB key, and we're going to choose eject all, and then we'll be able to go over to our Hackintosh now and actually begin the install process. All right, so I'm going to press, I don't remember whether it's F11 or F10 on this Gigabyte BIOS motherboard, but I'm going to press them both. There we go. So what I'm going to do is, wow, it doesn't see the USB key. That's interesting. Interesting. Maybe OpenCore? There it is. Okay, so I chose OpenCore. So now what I'm going to do is install macOS, whatever, OS X Catalina external. So I'm going to hit the Enter key. And because we told it verbose, we're actually going to get to see everything on the screen. The key with the Hackintosh, especially when it's in verbose mode, is don't freak out. You're going to see a lot of text scroll by. You're going to see some errors. Don't worry about them. Trust that you've set up your USB key properly, and just let it run, and pray to God or whatever you believe in that it's going to work okay. So you're going to see a lot of text, like I said, scroll by, but we'll get through this here in a minute, and we'll come up to the installer. Now, if at any point here it were to stop, you know, for more than about 5 minutes, then you could probably be a little more concerned. But you got to trust in the plan, man, if you know what I mean. You ever heard that saying, trust the plan? Yeah, we got a plan, so let's trust it. My Christmas present. I love this thing. Because I got bad hands, I can't feel them anymore. This thing is a godsend. So remember I said trust the plan, and that's a good thing, because it worked. So the first thing we're going to do is open the disk utility, because we need to format the internal SSD drive in this unit so that we can install Catalina. So one thing you want to do is come up here to the view and make sure you show all devices, because we don't want to format the wrong drive. So we're going to choose the Samsung drive, click on erase. I'm going to call this Catalina. You can call it OS X, whatever you wanted to. You could give it the name of the computer if you wanted to. We want to choose APFS. That's the Apple, the new Apple file system. And make sure it's on GUID partition map. Choose erase. It's going to go out and erase the drive. Click on done. And then you can close the disk utility. And now we're going to go and install macOS and click on continue. Now it should pop up here and tell us, ask us, hey, do you want to set up an installation of Catalina? We'll go sure. We'll agree to the license agreement, and we'll choose the drive we're going to install onto, which is Catalina. Click on install. Now this is where it's going to take some time, and it's going to get a little scary. And when I say take some time, it can take anywhere from a half an hour to an hour. It depends on how fast your system is, how fast the RAM is. So I'm starting this at 3:40 in the afternoon, and it's going to reboot several times. So you need to have faith in the plan again. And I'm going to track how long it takes and how many reboots it's going to do, so that you don't have to sit here and wait for that to happen. And then when it comes up to the next screen where we need to take additional steps, I'll start the video again and let you know what those steps are. Alright, so it's been about 15-16 minutes. There have been 2 reboots, and now we're at the setup screen. So let's go ahead and get our Apple or OS X set up. I don't know what's with my dog. Okay, so preferred language US English, US input, and dictation is US. Next. Data and privacy. Don't transfer my information. I'm going to set up my Apple ID later. Make sure you do not set this up. You will have problems because your serial number will not be valid. I'm going to agree to the license agreement, and I'm going to create an account. Now, I keep my account name the same as I do on my Active Directory domain, so that the login is the same. Just makes things easier. And I'm going to change the owl to let's change it to yin yang. Okay, continue. It's creating my account. It's actually booted off of, now it's still booted off the USB key because we haven't put a boot manager on the SSD drive. We'll be doing that here in a minute. So Express setup, I'm going to customize the settings. That's fine. Location services, I'll enable it. Just makes my life. I'm not going to share my data with Apple. None of your damn business. And I'm going to set up screen time later. I'm not going to enable Siri. And I'm going to set it on auto based on the time of day for the look. And now it should go out and set up. Now this process is probably going to take another 20-30 minutes. Maybe less. We'll see here. Oh, nope. Took very little time at all. So we'll continue. Because I don't have a standard Apple keyboard, I have to tell it, have to go through this. And bing, bang, boom. There it is. It's set up. Let's go to About This Mac. So it should see it as it sees it as a 3.4 gigahertz quad-core Intel Core i7. Remember what I was telling you not to join with your Apple ID? Because you don't have a valid serial number. So it should be a 13,1 iMac, and it is. You can see it right there. Now the next thing we need to do is copy some software onto this unit. I forgot to put it on the USB key because I'm an idiot sometimes. In order to make this SSD drive bootable, so we'll do that next. All right, so I'm going to go to the Technoli homepage. That's a guy whose guide I follow. And I'm going to go download a couple of files off of his website. So I want to get Gen SMBIOS. I want to download that. So we will, let's see, where are we? Download the zip file and allow it. And then we'll also get Mount EFI. And we'll go to download the zip. All right, so we can minimize that, and then we can, okay, saying there's an update later, remind me tomorrow. Let's go to our downloads folder, and we'll do Gen SMBIOS first, and then we'll do the other one. All right, so we got both of those programs there ready to go. So the first thing we want to do is run the mount EFI command. So we're going to open that. The first, we're going to allow it. We're going to tell it open. And the first one I want to mount is the Catalina. Install macOS Catalina. So that's number 2. Oh, sorry, need to be on the right screen. Number 2. And we'll type in our password. And we should see the EFI mount there. Now we also want to mount the EFI partition on the Catalina disk. So we're going to choose 1. And we should see another EFI folder pop up here. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so let's get these out of the way. I don't want to be confused. let's go to Finder, Preferences, and we'll show our hard disk too. There we go. So this EFI folder is on our hard disk. This EFI folder is on our USB stick because we're going to need some of the data in there. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to take and we want to copy. This is on the USB thumb drive. So we want to copy this EFI folder onto the EFI, the hidden EFI partition on the Catalina drive. So we'll paste it there. All right, and so that's all the information that Catalina will need to boot up. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this EFI mounting program right now because I don't need that up and running. We'll go ahead and quit that terminal, and then I'm going to bring up SMBIOS. Let's see, there we go, SMBIOS, and we're going to actually open that till it opens. Now what we can do is go ahead and we can eject the install and the EFI on the USB and remove them so that we're not confused by them anymore, and I'm going to actually remove that. Now coming back over to SMBIOS, so the first thing we want to do is select option 1, I believe. So what we'll do is select option number 1 and hit enter. Okay, and now the next thing it's going to want, let's hit enter here, is to select the config.plist. So we'll do option number 2, hit enter. And now what we need to do is come over here to our hidden EFI partition. EFI, go to OC, and we need to drag and drop this config.plist over to here. And then hit enter. Alright, I think the next step. So the next thing we will do is generate SMBIOS. So that's option number 3. And you remember early when we created this, we told it was an iMac 13,1. So we need to type that in here. iMac 13,1. Hit the enter key. And it'll generate a new board serial number and an SMMUUID. Press enter to return. Okay, so that should be it. We should be done now, so we should be able to close out of these programs and reboot. So let's get out of terminal. And we should be able to, we've removed the USB key, so we should be able now to restart. I'm not going to reopen Windows, but let's go ahead and restart. And let's see if this bad boy reboots off of the internal SSD now without our USB key. Now it is going to boot in verbose mode. That means it's going to print all that text out on the screen, but that's good. It's good for when you're, still debugging or diagnosing your system. So you see it's going to choose the bootloader Catalina now. So that's what we did by copying that EFI partition onto the internal SSD drive. We made that drive bootable so that we no longer need this little bad boy to boot off of. And you can see how fast that booted. That's very fast. So let's go ahead and log in. Let me enter my super secret password here if I could find the mouse. I don't know why my dog is whining. I hope she's not in pain. She might be having a bad dream. But there you go. macOS Catalina, late 2012 iMac. I got a serial number in there. It's identifying it as a 13,3 iMac. So we're good to go. Now, whether I can do updates or not, don't know. But I am, that is the install. It's booted up. It's booted up without any errors. I don't have headphones on here to test the sound, but I believe the network is working. I'm able to get out to the internet, etc. Well, so there you go. It's built. It's done. It's up. It's running. I've actually been using it a little bit. I put DaVinci on there. I just wanted to see how it performed. and that'll be in another video. I want to show you me actually using the OS X system on there. I decided to go with Catalina instead of Big Sur. You know, Big Sur just came out of beta not too long ago, and I really don't need any of the features, and I really not be a bug fixer on OS X. You know, so I'm going to stick with Catalina. That's why I went with it. You could have gone Big Sur on newer equipment. I have not tested this on an AMD. Well, I take that back. I have tested this on an AMD processor, and the results were less than, not that they were less than stunning, but there are some tricks and hacks you need to know in order to run programs under OS X on an AMD processor, and I just think it's worth more. I don't think it's worth the trouble to run it on AMD. That's just my personal opinion. Now, the link I gave you to go to the video where I learned how to do this, he also has tutorial videos on how to do it on an AMD processor as well. So if you're feeling adventurous, you may want to go check out his YouTube channel and try doing it on an AMD processor. But like I said, I'll have another video, a follow-up video, you know, like Hackintosh a month later or a week later, and let you know what I think, how it performs compared to a regular, you know, something like a Mac Mini. So there you go. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a thumbs up down below. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Please, we could use the subscriber count. We mirror all of our content on Odyssey and BitChute, and we also take donations, PayPal, Patreon, and the YouTube join button for $2 a month recurring membership. You can it goes a long way to help supporting this channel. So, and we appreciate each and every one of our subscribers. So, don't forget to come back and see us, and please remember, we'll see you on the other side.